The de Havilland DH.110 Sea Vixen is a twin-boom, twin-engined 1950s Euro 1960s British two-seat jet fighter of the Fleet Air Arm designed by de Havilland at Hatfield, Hertfordshire. Developed from an earlier first-generation jet fighter, the Sea Vixen was a capable carrier-based fleet defence fighter that served into the 1970s. Initially produced by de Havilland, it was later known as the Hawker Siddeley Sea Vixen after de Havilland became a part of the Hawker Siddeley Group in 1960. All 140 production Sea Vixens were manufactured and first flown from Christchurch, Dorset. A single example remains airworthy today in the UK and is displayed regularly at airshows. Development: the aircraft was designated the DH.110 by de Havilland. A twin-engined all-weather fighter, development of which started in 1946 following discussions with the Admiralty of its requirements for jet all-weather fighters. De Havilland's design shared the twin-boom layout of the de Havilland Vampire, had an all-metal structure and featured swept wings. It was to be powered by two Rolls-Royce Avon engines, each capable of 7,500 pound-force of thrust, which would allow the aircraft to be supersonic in a shallow dive. The DH.110 was the first British two-seat combat aircraft to achieve supersonic speed. Armament was to be 430 Maiden cannons. In January 1947, specifications N40/46 and F44/46 were issued by the British Air Ministry for similar night fighters to equip the Fleet Air Arm and Royal Air Force, with 9 prototypes being ordered for the RAF and 4 prototypes for the Fleet Air Arm. In 1949, however, the Royal Navy decided to buy the de Havilland Sea Venom, which as a development of an existing type was cheaper and available quickly to meet its immediate needs for a jet-powered night fighter to replace its piston-engine de Havilland Sea Hornets, while the RAF cut its order back to 2 prototypes. Despite this, de Havilland continued with the project. The first prototype was built and first flown at Hatfield on September 26, 1951, piloted by John Cunningham. The aircraft's performance exceeded expectations, and by the following year it was regularly flying faster than the speed of sound. However, tragedy struck while the aircraft was being demonstrated at the Farnborough Air Show on September 6, 1952. Following a demonstration of its ability to break the sound barrier, the aircraft disintegrated, killing 31 people, including the crew of 2, test pilot and record breaker John Derry and Tony Richards. The failure was traced to faulty design of the end sections of the main spar, which resulted in the outer ends of the wings shearing off during a high-rate turn. The subsequent shift in the DH.110 center of lift caused the aircraft to lurch violently, creating forces of over 12 g, resulting in the cockpit and tail sections breaking away and the engines being torn from the airframe. One of the engines hit an area crowded with spectators at the end of the runway, causing the majority of casualties. Other spectators were injured by debris from the cockpit landing close to the main spectator enclosures alongside the runway. This incident led to a major restructuring of the safety regulations for airshows in the UK, and since this crash no member of the public has died as a result of an airshow accident in the UK. Owing to this incident, modifications were made to the second prototype, including the fitting of an all-moving tailplane, the modified aircraft not flying again until July 1954. By this time, the RAF had abandoned its interest in the DH.110, choosing instead the Gloucester Javelin, but the Fleet Air Arm decided to adopt the DH.110 to replace its interim Sea Venoms. In 1955, a semi-navalized variant was produced as a prototype, including changes of the leading edge profile and strengthening of the wings, making its first flight from de Havilland's factory airfield at Christchurch on June 20, 1955. The following year, the aircraft XF-828 made its first arrested deck landing on the fleet aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal. The first true Sea Vixen, the Sea Vixen FAW-20, first flew on March 20, 1957. And on July 2, 1959, the first Sea Vixen-equipped squadron formed. Design: the Sea Vixen had a twin-boom tail, as used on the de Havilland Sea Vampire and Sea Venom. The Sea Vixen became the first British aircraft to be solely armed with missiles, rockets and bombs. The Sea Vixen FAW-1 was armed with 4 de Havilland Streak air-to-air missiles, 2 microcell and guided 2-inch rocket packs, and 4 500 lb or 2 1000 lb bombs. It was powered by 2 11,230 pound force-thrust Rolls-Royce Avon 208 turbojet engines. Had a speed of 690 mph and a range of 600 mi. The original DH.110 designers offered to the RAF had cannons fitted. However, the cannons were soon removed and an all-missile armament was developed. The pilot's canopy is offset to the left-hand side. The observer is housed to the right completely within the fuselage, gaining access through a flush-fitting top hatch into his position, nicknamed the coal hole. The Sea Vixen FAW-2 was the successor to the FAW-1 and included many improvements. As well as Streak missiles, it could carry the Red Top AAM, 4 SNEB rocket pods and the air-to-ground Bullpup missile. An enlarged tail boom allowed for additional fuel tanks in the pinion extensions above and before the wing leading edge, and there was an improved escape system along with additional room for more electronic countermeasures equipment. However, the changes in aerodynamics meant that the 1000 lb bomb was no longer able to be carried. Visually, the FAW-1 and FAW-2 may be distinguished by the tail booms which extend forward over the leading edge of the wing on the FAW-2. The FAW-2 first flew in 1962 and entered service with frontline squadrons in 1964, with 29 being built and a further 67 FAW-1s being upgraded to FAW-2 standard. The FAW-1 began phasing out in 1966. In 1972, the career of the Sea Vixen FAW-2 came to an end. It was planned to replace the Sea Vixen with the F-4 Phantom II, with both HMS Ark Royal and Eagle to be refitted to take the new aircraft. In the event, due to defense cuts and following the decommissioning of HMS Eagle, only Ark Royal was converted to take the new aircraft. A small number of Sea Vixens subsequently saw service in the less glamorous roles of drone, being redesignated Sea Vixen D3. Only 4 were converted to the D3 standard, though 3 more were sent to Farnborough for conversion but not converted. The last remaining airworthy Sea Vixen was a D3 conversion. Some other Sea Vixens became target tugs and were redesignated as TT2. Operational history. The aircraft did not take part in any true wars during its career with the Fleet Air Arm, though it took part in many operations. In 1961, President Abdul Karim Qasem of Iraq threatened to annex the neighboring oil-rich state of Kuwait. In response to Kuwait's appeal for external help, the United Kingdom dispatched a number of ships to the region, including 2 fleet carriers. Sea Vixens aboard the fleet carriers flew patrols in the region, and Qasem's aggressive actions wilted in the face of the strong naval presence, thus averting a Gulf War over Kuwait. In January 1964, trouble flared in the East African state of Tanganyika after the 1st and 2nd Tanganyika Rifles mutinied against the British officers and NCOs who, despite Tanganyika being independent, still commanded the regiment. The mutineers also seized the British High Commissioner and the airport at the capital Dar es Salaam. The UK responded by sending the light fleet carrier HMS Centaur, accompanied by 45 Commando, Royal Marines. The Sea Vixens, flying off Centaur, performed a number of duties including the providing of cover for the Royal Marines who were landed in Tanganyika by helicopters. The operation to restore Tanganyika to stability ended in success. That same year, Sea Vixens of HMS Centaur saw service once again in the Persian Gulf, including the launch of airstrikes against rebel forces, this time supporting British forces fighting against locals disgruntled by the loss of tolls in the Radvan. Later in 1964, HMS Centaur's 892 Squadron Sea Vixen stationed off Indonesia, helped to prevent an escalation of President Sukarno's Indonesia-Malaysia confrontation. Sea Vixen saw further service during the 1960s, performing duties on Beira Patrol, a Royal Navy operation designed to prevent oil reaching landlocked Rhodesia via the then Portuguese colony of Mozambique. The Sea Vixen also saw service in the Far East. In 1967, once again in the Persian Gulf, Sea Vixens helped cover the withdrawal from Aden. There were a number of Royal Navy warships involved, including the carriers HMSA Albion, HMSA Bulwark and HMSA Eagle and the LPD HMSA Fearless. The Sea Vixen also took to the skies in the aerobatic role, performing in 2 Royal Navy display teams, Simon's Circus, and Fred's 5. Of the 145 Sea Vixens constructed, 54 were lost in accidents. 2 DH.110 development prototypes were also lost. A small number of Sea Vixens were sent to FR Aviation at Tarrant Rushden Airfield for conversion to D3 drone standard, with some undergoing testing at RAF Landbed before the drone program was abandoned. Among them was XP924, now GCVIX, the only Sea Vixen to remain in flying condition, which has now been returned to 899 NAS colors. Owned and operated by de Havilland Aviation, GCVIX can be viewed at their hangar at Bournemouth Airport in Dorset, southern England, or at airshows around the UK. The Air Accident Investigation Branch recently published an inquiry into damage suffered by GCVIX on landing at Bournemouth on April 5, 2012. Operators: a United Kingdom, Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm, de Havilland Aviation. 1 former Royal Navy aircraft flown as a promotional and display aircraft, survivors. 1 Sea Vixen remains airworthy, Sea Vixen D3 GCVIX, the former XP924, registered since 2013 to DS Aviation at Bournemouth Airport, Dorset. It has a display registration mark exemption to fly in its original Royal Navy markings as XP924 coded 134. It originally flew with 899 Naval Air Squadron Fleet Air Arm as 134 from November 1968 until 1970 from HMS Eagle. The following complete airframes are on public display: Sea Vixen FAW1XJ481, Fleet Air Arm Museum, RNAS Yeovilton, Somerset. Part of the museum's reserve collection. Sea Vixen FAW1XJ482, Norfolk and Suffolk Aviation Museum, Suffolk. Sea Vixen FAW2XJ490, Queensland Air Museum, Caloundra, Australia. Airframe complete, but internals removed. Sea Vixen FAW2XJ494, Bruntingthorpe Aerodrome, Leicestershire. Sea Vixen FAW2XJ560, Newark Air Museum, Nottinghamshire. Sea Vixen FAW2XJ565, de Havilland Aircraft Heritage Centre, Hertfordshire. Sea Vixen FAW2XJ571, Solent Sky, Hampshire. Sea Vixen FAW2XJ580, Tangmere Military Aviation Museum, West Sussex. Sea Vixen FAW2XN685, Midland Air Museum, Coventry. Sea Vixen FAW2XS576, IWM Dewford, Cambridgeshire. Sea Vixen TT2XS587, Gatwick Aviation Museum, Surrey. Sea Vixen FAW2XS590, Fleet Air Arm Museum, RNAS Yeovilton, Somerset. Specifications. Data from the Great Book of Fighters, General Characteristics, Crew, 2, Pilot and Observer, Length, 55 feet 7 inches, Wingspan, 51 feet 0 in, Height, 10 feet 9 in, Wing Area, 648 FTA squared, Empty weight, 27,950 pounds, Loaded weight, 41,575 pounds, Max takeoff weight, 46,750 pounds, Power plant, Tua, Rolls-Royce Avon Mk208 turbojets, 50 kilonewtons each. Performance, maximum speed, Mach 0.91 at sea level, range, 790 miles with internal. Fuel, service ceiling, 48,000 feet, rate of climb, 9,000 feet per minute, wing loading, 64.2 pounds FTA squared, thrust weight, 0.54, armament, hardpoints, 6A and provisions to carry combinations of, rockets 4A, Matra rocket pods with 18A, SNEB 68mm rockets each, missiles, 4A, Red Top or Fira Streak air-to-air missiles, bombs, 1. A Redbeard freefall nuclear bomb. Avionics GECAI-18 air interception radar. See also, de Havilland Aviation, 1952 Farnborough Air Show DH.110 crash, de Havilland Aircraft Heritage Centre portal, British aircraft since World War II, related development, de Havilland Vampire, de Havilland Sea Venom, related lists, list of fighter aircraft, references, notes. Citations. Bibliography. External links. De Havilland Aviation Limited operates airworthy de Havilland jet aircraft, including the world's last airworthy Sea Vixen, British unveiled twin-boom jet, early 1951 article on DH.110, Sea Vixen.org. Contains information on the aircraft, the squadrons and carriers and those that flew them, the 1952 Farnborough Air Show crash, eyewitness accounts of Farnborough crash, Aeroplane Naval Aircraft Archive, de Havilland Sea Vixen, Thunder and Lightnings, de Havilland Sea Vixen, interview with Sea Vixen display pilot, Lieutenant C. D. Matt Whitfield.